Today our topic is why Stoics practiced silence. The Stoics, who were ancient philosophers, believed that silence was a powerful tool for living a good life. They thought that by being silent, we could learn more about ourselves and the world around us. Silence was not just about not speaking. It was about creating space to think, to reflect, and to understand. The Stoics practiced silence because they knew that words could often lead to trouble. When we speak without thinking, we can hurt others, make mistakes, or say things we regret. Silence helps us avoid these problems and keeps us focused on what truly matters. One reason the Stoics valued silence was because it allowed them to control their emotions. They believed that emotions like anger, fear, and sadness could cloud our judgment and lead us to make bad decisions. By staying silent, they could observe their emotions without acting on them. For example, if someone insulted a Stoic, they would not immediately respond with anger. Instead, they would remain silent, giving themselves time to think about the situation calmly. This way they could choose the best response rather than reacting impulsively. Silence in this sense was a way to maintain inner peace and avoid unnecessary conflict. Another reason the Stoics practiced silence was to focus on what they could control. They believed that many things in life are beyond our control, such as the weather, other people's opinions, or unexpected events. However, they also believed that we have control over our own thoughts and actions. By being silent, they could direct their attention inward and focus on their own behavior, rather than worrying about things they could not change. For instance, if a Stoic was in a noisy or chaotic environment, they would not complain or try to change the situation. Instead, they would use silence to center themselves and find calmness within, no matter what was happening around them. The Stoics also saw silence as a way to practice humility and avoid arrogance. They believed that speaking too much or boasting about oneself could lead to pride and a false sense of importance. By staying silent, they could remain humble and open to learning from others. Silence allowed them to listen more and talk less, which helped them gain wisdom and understanding. For example, instead of interrupting someone to share their own opinion, a Stoic would listen carefully and consider what the other person had to say. This practice of listening and being silent helped them build better relationships and avoid unnecessary arguments. Silence was also a way for the Stoics to connect with nature and the universe. They believed that everything in the world is interconnected, and that by being silent, they could better understand this connection. In moments of silence, they could observe the beauty of the natural world and reflect on their place within it. This helped them feel a sense of gratitude and appreciation for life. For instance, a Stoic might sit quietly by a river, watching the water flow, and use this time to think about the constant change and flow of life. Through silence, they could find peace and a deeper understanding of the world. Another important reason the Stoics practiced silence was to prepare for difficult situations. They believed that life is full of challenges, and that by practicing silence, they could build the mental strength needed to face these challenges. Silence was a way to train their minds to stay calm and focused, even in the face of adversity. For example, if a Stoic knew they were about to face a tough situation, such as a difficult conversation or a painful event, they would spend time in silence beforehand. This would help them gather their thoughts and approach the situation with clarity and courage. The Stoics also used silence as a way to practice self-discipline. They believed that self-discipline was essential for living a virtuous life, and silence was one way to strengthen this discipline. By choosing to remain silent, even when they wanted to speak, they could build their willpower and control over their impulses. For example, if a Stoic felt the urge to gossip or complain, they would resist this urge and stay silent instead. This practice of self-control helped them become stronger and more resilient in other areas of their lives. Silence was also a way for the Stoics to avoid distractions and focus on their goals. They believed that too much talking or noise could take away from their ability to concentrate on what was important. By creating moments of silence in their daily lives, they could clear their minds and focus on their priorities. For instance, A Stoic might start their day with a period of silence, using this time to set their intentions and plan their actions. This helped them stay focused and productive throughout the day. In addition, the Stoics practiced silence as a way to deal with negative thoughts and emotions. They believed that by being silent, they could observe their thoughts without getting caught up in them. This allowed them to let go of negative feelings and find peace within themselves. For example, if a Stoic was feeling anxious or worried, they would not try to push these feelings away or distract themselves with talking. Instead, they would sit in silence and observe their thoughts, understanding that these feelings were temporary and would pass. This practice helped them stay calm and balanced, even in difficult times. The Stoics also saw silence as a way to practice gratitude and mindfulness. By being silent, they could fully appreciate the present moment and all the good things in their lives. They believed that silence helped them become more aware of their surroundings and more thankful for what they had. For example, a Stoic might take a moment of silence before eating a meal, using this time to reflect on the food and the effort that went into preparing it. This practice of gratitude helped them find joy and contentment in everyday life. Finally, the Stoics practiced silence as a way to prepare for death. They believed that death is a natural part of life, and that by accepting it, they could live more fully. Silence was a way to reflect on the impermanence of life and to prepare themselves for the end. By being silent, they could confront their fears and find peace with the idea of death. This allowed them to live with courage and without regret, knowing that they had made the most of their time. In conclusion, the Stoics practiced silence for many reasons. It helped them control their emotions, focus on what they could control, and stay humble. Silence allowed them to connect with nature, prepare for challenges, and build self-discipline. It helped them avoid distractions, deal with negative thoughts, and practice gratitude. And finally, silence was a way for them to prepare for death and live with courage. The Stoics knew that silence was not just the absence of noise, but a powerful tool for living a good and meaningful life. By following their example, we too can learn to use silence to find peace, clarity, and strength in our own lives.